Dialogic Disciple is an invitation to explore discipleship in dialogue with the world as disciples of the Word. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Dialogic Disciple podcast. My name is James Johnson, and I am here with...
my co-host.
With her co-host. What is your name?
Elizabeth Shavy.
Elizabeth, it's good to see you today. We have, yet again, another special guest in the studio, in the office today.
Here we go.
Tiffany, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Uzoaji. I work here at Northside in the music department.
That's excellent. So we are so excited to have you here with us today and looking forward to this conversation. Do you mind telling us how you got to Northside and what did you do here?
Sure. I started at Northside. I started as a substitute staff singer, just coming in on Sunday mornings to fill in for people. And then I started working here. Fun fact, Michael Devine hired me when I was 8 months pregnant.
Oh.
To be, yes. So, you guys, he has good faith in people.
I was going to say.
I could have disappeared.
A lot of faith.
If you can hire an 8-month-old pregnant woman,
With 8 months. Yeah.
you can do anything. Anyways, so I started here as a staff singer, and I was pregnant with my daughter. And then after I had her, I started working in the office as Michael's admin / singer,
Keeping them together.
whatever. Yes.
Yeah.
So
What's that job like?
it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. I will say there are no 2 days alike.
Mm-hmm.
Some days require a lot of singing. Some days require a lot of emails. It just depends. But I like it because it's always being in contact with people, helping people get together to worship and to work out the logistics so that Sunday morning feels like a breeze.
Yeah.
So that's what I like doing.
Nice.
Are you, what's kind of your background with singing or being in worship in churches? Like, have you served in other churches before?
I have. I grew up at a crazy church. I grew up in a mega church in Memphis, Tennessee, at Bellevue Baptist Church. I went there until I was 18, and then I went to school at Belmont for opera performance. And while I was there, I sang in another church. And then I went to school in Baltimore at Hopkins, also for opera performance, and lived in D.C. for a while and worked there.
So you like opera? I'm picking
like
up
opera.
a vibe here.
I do like opera. I mean, I like opera, but church music is fun too.
Yeah.
Sometimes they are the same level of drama. Yes, very close.
Nice.
Not that far of a departure, quite frankly.
I've not seen a lot of operas in my life, but I have seen Don Giovanni a couple times, and I love it.
Oh, well, we're doing that at the Atlanta Opera this season.
I know.
Really?
Yes. I will be in it, so please come.
Oh,
Yes.
excellent.
How
Please come.
fun.
Yes,
Yeah,
please
that's in
come.
January, maybe?
It is in January.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes.
I will be there.
Okay.
For sure. It's one of I say it's one of my favorite operas, but it's really the only opera I've ever seen.
Well, that's a good one to like.
Yeah,
and that's
right.
It's
I like it because it was Kierkegaard's favorite, and so that's not why I like it, but that's why I went to see it the first
kind of.
time. But yeah,
Okay.
it also just kind of relates a little bit. But,
Right.
I don't know anything about it.
Okay. It's
well, in
very
any
creepy
case.
at the end. Don Giovanni.
What's your favorite opera?
Oh, my favorite opera? My favorite opera is Madame Butterfly, and we're doing that here in a few weeks. I'm so excited.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, the music is so beautiful, and the story is tragic, but it's just beautiful. I love it. I love all the pageantry and all of it about. I also really like Aida, but Aida literally has animals in it, so it's hard to pull off here. But it's so fun. So fun.
Aw.
So you are involved in more than just at Northside. You are involved in the larger Atlanta music community.
Yes. Yeah, well, I like to say that I am. But yeah, I sing with Atlanta Opera, and then I also sing a lot with First Baptist Decatur. I have a good friend there.
Oh, cool.
But now you're singing at other churches?
Well, no, not on Sunday mornings. I'm always here on Sunday mornings. These are different times. Don't worry. I'm always here 8:30, 11:15 every single Sunday. Don't worry.
Oh, that's funny.
That is one thing I really appreciate about our staff is we seem to have a lot of folks that are really engaged in whatever their particular scene is other than the church. Like a lot of us don't just like come in and do the job and then go home and watch TV and go to sleep. Especially all of y'all arts people down there, like you're involved in the community at large, which I think is really cool. Just like from a larger kingdom of God perspective, like we're taking culture and bringing it to the church and using it to inform what we do, which I think is really neat.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I think that's what makes a department like ours work, though. I think if unfortunately, if we just stay in our own little group and don't branch out or meet anybody, one, we're not reaching a lot of people. We're only reaching the people that want to come here.
Right.
And then two, we're not opening ourselves up to new voices, new experiences, which I think makes a department grow. It's funny, Michael and I were just talking about this, about how nice I think it is. I love to sing, of course, but I love it when we have other people who are talented and lovely and are in the forefront, and it is not me, if that makes sense. Because it takes away the hometown girl feeling of it and opens us up to look what's in our backyard. And also we want to bless you with an opportunity to come and sing for us. And this is how we can share the love of Christ for you, by giving you an opportunity to share your art here.
That's cool.
That we
I like that.
So I think that's really nice. Our department's kind of going in that way, which is really lovely.
I have threatened many times to join the choir here at the church.
Come on, we're ready.
But,
Are you ready for Garth Brooks? Is it because that's what you have to be ready for?
I'm ready for it.
That's where it goes.
Grace.
It doesn't matter where it starts. It always goes to Garth Brooks within like 30 seconds. And that's generous.
That. I mean, I do have a good time in the choir loft, so we would probably never be allowed to sit together. But I do have a good time.
So something that I asked Joshua and something that I asked Michael is, do you have, like, I guess one way to ask this question is, how does your faith inform your service as singing in the church and all the things that you do? Or do you have like a theology of worship? Do you have like have you thought through like how worship plays a role in the church?
I guess personally, I have a hard time with this because of how I grew up and because of the church I was in. The church I was in was very performance-based, as many mega churches are. Yeah. So even from a young age, when you were singing, you're taught, you're on a camera, taught to look good. And that was like back in the 90s, 80s. So, so it was less edited as it is now. But for me, I really had to come to a point when I was in college, when I got out of college, because I'd been raised with such a strong evangelical background, that I really had to come to a point where I made a decision about if I was going to sing and why I was going to do it. And for a long time, I did it because if I'm being honest, I made good money. I made good contacts. Yeah. Being in the South, it's kind of a thing to do. If you're a singer, you sing at a church. And then when I moved to Baltimore and D.C., I didn't sing for a while. I just kind of filled in for people or go every now and then. And I think moving back down here, my husband and I moved to Atlanta right before we got married in 2013. And moving back down here, what I found is that I needed to be in a place where I was singing in a church because of the ways that I had been kept, if you will. Even through a tumultuous time in my 20s and early 30s, I had been kept and my voice had been still blessed, even when I was not giving back to people. And most importantly, a lot of the people in my life, especially in my college life, were people of the church who supported me and who fed into me. Yeah. And so now that I'm here, I think that I come and sing every week, yes, because it's my job, but also because I feel like the reason that I can sing is because I have been blessed. And I have been blessed whether or not I loved being at the mega church or whatever. It has given me a foundation of the things that I'm supposed to have now. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And so singing for me, I love opera, but the reason that I can sing is because somebody has taught me in a church.
Yeah.
And so
that's really cool.
That's what I try to do. I also have 2 daughters who, as I'm teaching them now what it means to go to church and what it means to sing in church and what it means to perform in church and what that looks like, it's showing them how to lead in worship. And I just feel like that's a gift I've been given.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I need to do it. As far as the broader congregation, that's difficult because this is, I mean, this is an interesting congregation in that everybody is very gifted and they are very specialized in what they're gifted in.
Yes.
And so it's not like a church where everybody just sings because we're supposed to.
Right.
So I really think it's interesting, the people that do make the choice to come and sing, if they're not singers. That's a very difficult thing to do in this church.
Yeah, you know, I've noticed that a lot about Methodist churches in general, and maybe it's probably not just a Methodist thing, but a lot of folks are very uncomfortable singing, even in just the congregation, even just in the regular worship service. It's almost like you're talking about how specialized people are, and everyone seems to be afraid to step out of their lane a little bit.
That's not my gift, so I can't do that.
That's not my gift, right? I'm not a singer. So, but as we were talking with Michael last week, to praise God, to sing praises to God is the most repeated command in all of Scripture, and it doesn't really have a caveat on it, only if you can sing. It doesn't say, you know, it's for everyone. It's not for all creation, really. But that is, I do see that too here at Northside Church, for sure, that kind of specialization.
I think it makes, honestly, it makes the congregation richer and so interesting. But a lot of times when I come up to people and say, "Do you want to join the choir?" the first response is, "Oh, I could never. I could never sing with you all. You all are so lovely." And so it is an interesting group to lead. But I will say, this is also maybe the most appreciative congregation I've ever.
Really?
Okay.
I especially like Christmas. How it's packed for Christmas, and people are just. I mean, we're doing carols, and people are just so overwhelmed and so overjoyed. So I think that every congregation has a personality. And so for me,
that's
cool.
good.
That's a good way to think about it.
It was funny. This is not exactly the same thing, but you mentioned the gratitude, and that's something I've noticed serving at Wednesday night dinner. Yes. Everyone is so grateful. Yes. It is the sweetest darn thing. Like, you know, like people come through the line and everyone is like, "Oh, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for serving. Thank you for the food." And it's like all ages and stages and everything.
Exactly.
It's so sweet. So I got that vibe too. Is like we have a very grateful congregation. Really neat.
Absolutely. It is a pleasure to be here. And again, I do not know where this is all going to take me, but I know that for whatever reason, this is the opportunity that was presented to me. And I joke about starting to sing here when I was pregnant, but as a new mom, getting this job and being here, I felt and still feel incredibly blessed.
Yeah.
That I'm surrounded by all these people who love me and love my children. So honestly,
that's really cool.
Whatever the call is, I will be here. Yeah, whatever it is.
That's awesome.
All right, well, Tiffany, you're here today to talk about Soldiers of Christ Arise, number 513 in the Methodist hymnal.
Are we going to sing it?
Yeah, no, we are not. If you want to sing it for us,
I will not. Thank you. Thank you.
This was the text that Bill preached on Sunday, and I asked you why I would ask you why you chose to come on this day for this hymn, but you said this was the only day that worked for you, so it wasn't particularly for this hymn.
Listen, we're all slaves to the preschool schedule, so here we are today.
It's funny.
I thought a lot about this hymn. I talked to Michael about this too. I am not usually one that is a lover of warfare themed hymns.
Okay, yeah.
There's this one. There's also Onward Christian Soldiers.
Yeah, that's a big one.
There's a lot of these hymns that feel like very wartime themed. And now
church militant, as Bill calls it.
Yes, the church militant. Yes, he does say that a lot. But for me, and maybe this is just because of the time I have lived, warfare type hymns make me uncomfortable, and because it's such strong language. You're summoned, cheerfully obey. It feels very, I guess, not the language that I use. And quite frankly, not the language that I feel a lot of us use when we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes. And my big question with all this a lot of times is, yes, we're putting on the full armor of God to shield us from the devil's schemes. But it doesn't always come across that way in these hymns.
No.
It seems like we're fighting somebody else.
Mhm.
And who are we fighting? That is always my question with these.
Yeah.
It does seem as though this hymn and Onward Christian Soldiers, those two in conversation, I think are interesting, but a little bit more offensive than defensive in attack, right?
Yes.
And like you, I have a profound uncomfortability with the military kind of metaphor for people of faith. I think that's kind of the point of what Paul was saying in the passage that Bill preached about, that our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities and authorities, and the armor of God that he then uses as a metaphor and talks about this, the helmet of salvation. These are all defensive things that he's describing. He's not describing, even the sword that he describes is a defensive sword. It's not like the thing that you go into battle with.
My first curiosity is, how does someone, I don't have any direct, I don't come from like a military family, and so I don't have any like real direct experience with that. So my curiosity would be, for someone who does, how would they read this?
Yeah.
How would they take it? Because for me, I can use it as like, all right, maybe, the church kind of repurposing language that, is common to people, repurposing it, reimagining it, like, all right, you guys, how it looks like, how it feels to put on a helmet. So let's use that and think about it in a different way. How can we do this for God? I don't know. Yeah. And I'm thinking about like there's another one, something about coming down to the riverside and studying War No More. That's the first thing I think of, right?
Yeah.
Like, wait, no, we're supposed to, none of this.
Isaiah chapter 2.
Right. Study War No More. No battles.
And that's kind of where I'm coming from, in the sense of like, I think that the kingdom of God and the church are supposed to be beacons of peace. I think that Jesus was a beacon of peace, and I think that I'm a pacifist, and I kind of feel like the kingdom of God is pacifist in that way. Although there are many people who disagree, and that's okay. So to color ourselves and to sing ourselves as soldiers. Man, that just comes off. It just hits me wrong. I guess it takes me out of the worship experience.
I think if we think about Charles Wesley writing this,
Yeah, and that's okay.
No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
That's one question I had, and I don't know if anyone knows the history of this hymn. Maybe Tiffany, you can enlighten us. I don't know. But I'm thinking he wrote this 1749. Like, what's going on in Charles's time that would encourage him to write this? I don't know.
Right. So if he's living in the midst of wartime, and he's reaching people who are also living in that time, then yes, then this would be something that would reach people. It's not my favorite hymn text. However, I did like the way that Bill preached on it on Sunday, and going back to the armor of God, and also to reiterate that we are a people that do believe in the devil and angels and spiritual warfare. And when you say something like that, well, of course, then yes. And so I think if I can take out the warfare language and really just think about spiritual. Not something that I am personally fighting. That also makes me feel better too, because I'm not personally somebody who would go and fight. I do like to win chili cook-offs, Dr. Bill Birch. But
oh man, shots fired.
But in my daily life, no, it's not something. So it was nice to think about it in a spiritual warfare type.
Yeah.
Way. But.
And I think that's what Paul was talking about. And I guess if you use it in that sense, that is something that we don't talk about a lot. It's the spiritual warfare aspect of it, and where our struggle actually is as the church, and that we are fighting things that are behind the scenes mostly. Our struggle is against things that we can't see, and even the violence of physical human beings or whatever that we fight against, that there's a bigger, more evil thing behind the scenes, kind of controlling what's happening, or not controlling, but influencing what's happening. I don't know. That's a bigger conversation maybe than.
I mean, I like that, and that's helpful for me. I maybe I'm just not as peaceful of a person as you are, which probably seems like definitely true. But like that, acknowledging the sense that there is something that we are up against, that actually helps me. It feels better because it's like, it's not just like, oh, you're a people of God and you're peaceful and you're good and you're all the things. I'm like, yeah, I don't feel that. I'm not.
I need to fight somebody.
Well, no, it's like there's something inside of me that is like clearly not all those things all the time. And so there is something that I feel like I'm struggling against and have to like do better than. And so that idea, it's like there is something you have to master, and maybe it's not necessarily like I got to go into the world fighting, but it's like, there's some sort of spiritual force, some sort of thing, right? Like we struggle with anger, we struggle with depression, we struggle with, all these things. And so it's helpful for me in that sense to be like, okay, you know what? There is something I'm struggling against and it's okay to struggle and we'll get there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I think I love that. Personal struggles, things that I know that I have in my heart that I am struggling with, and how do I arm myself against that is wonderful. I think where I have trouble is the thought of fighting another person.
Yeah.
And
totally.
But no, if we're talking about things that we're warring against, do you remember those? There were a few books back like in the 90s, 2000s. Frank Peretti, I want to say.
Yeah.
Do you remember those books?
Light in the Darkness books? Yeah.
Yes, those were really popular for a while.
Oh, man. I feel like we grew up in the same circles.
I think so. But I think those fell out of popularity, and so now. But it was very cool to talk about that at one
absolutely.
point.
I remember that.
It was. I feel this happening or this happening, and then that's not really in the zeitgeist anymore.
Yeah, no, definitely not at Northside. I will say that is something that when I was younger, like talking about the influence of the devil and spiritual forces all around was such a thing, and we don't talk about that stuff anymore, or at least not here. It's fascinating. That's something that we should explore at some point. Tiffany, this is you clearly not your favorite hymn. Do you have a favorite hymn that you might want to discuss? Or one that speaks to you on a regular basis? Tell me it's Amazing Grace.
No, it's not. Well, I do like Amazing Grace.
She almost blew that one off, folks.
I love Amazing.
Not that hymn again.
We had Michael sang Amazing Grace to the tune of Joy to the World last week, and that was odd, weird.
Oh, okay.
Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound.
Okay, my favorite. Cool. I believe he did that. I love him. I love him. My favorite hymn is Be Thou My Vision.
That's a good one.
So we sang that at my wedding. Funny story, none of my bridesmaids or groomsmen knew the words, so I had to turn around and mouth the words to everybody so that they would know it. It was the one thing I asked everybody to do.
Is that something you didn't know before the service started?
No, because in inviting them, I said, hey y'all, this is the hymn we're gonna sing at our wedding.
You have one job.
We sang that and Joy to the World because we got married in December. And so I said,
cool.
Come on, guys, let's learn this. Anyways, Be Thou My Vision. That is my favorite hymn. Fun fact: the choir sang it both times the girls were baptized. So did
they know that? Or did they?
Yes.
That was okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That's
because if that was just coincidence, that would have been amazing.
That.
Yeah.
What do you love about this hymn so much?
This hymn is one that always has spoken to me. I feel like in every stage of life, I'm constantly looking for the next step, and especially these days in leading children and the monotony of the day to day. What is the end point? It's very. I spend a lot of time in a lot of just prayer for my children and prayer for what their lives look like and am I doing the right thing? And but this has always spoken to me. I sang this a lot in high school, thinking about what was I going to do in college?
Yeah.
After college, where am I supposed to be? Who am I supposed to be with? And I think that's for me. to not know what's next, but to know that there is a plan and there is a way to walk in is really comforting to me.
Yeah.
So that's,
No, I feel that.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites too. And there was actually a song that Matt was singing in contemporary worship not yesterday, but Sunday, that had a lot of the same language, but it wasn't this hymn,
Oh, okay.
but it was talking about give me vision, give me wisdom, and these kinds of things, and popular themes.
More of you, less of me.
Is there a particular arrangement of this hymn that you prefer, or is it just whatever's in the hymnal? That's the way you go.
Well, the choir sang the John Rutter arrangement when my girls were baptized. The best line for me is "Heart of my own heart, whatever befall." That's that's really the best line for me. Just this, to know that someone is coming alongside you and praying with you, and I think it's just so amazing to think of that happening, even though he already knows what's going to happen, but he's still in the trenches with you, praying you through until you were able to see what it is.
Yeah.
And again, just I feel like my life has been, so up till now, in my 30 years, has just been a life that has really been guided by the Lord's provision. Some would call it a lot of luck, but I call it a lot of blessings.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite hymn.
That's really cool. Something that's helpful, like a maybe not, I don't know, spiritual practice. I don't know if that's the right word, but like I think we spend a lot of time worrying about the future and what's going to come, but to instead look back and see where God guided and where God provided and how God showed up, and instead of worrying about the future, thinking, okay, well, there's a pattern here, and
exactly a pattern of a lot of, I mean, for me at least, a lot of grace and a lot of blessings.
And I think that takes eyes to see. Like if you have to practice seeing that. I think we can all see that. We just have to look for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Good. It reminds me a lot of what this hymn has always reminded me of is the story of Peter walking out of the boat and toward Jesus, and as long as he kept his eyes on Christ, like he had no problem walking. But then when his vision started going looking around the storm and the wind and whatever, and that's when he started to sink. But even then, Jesus pulled him out of the water. So it's this idea of Christ, our vision, powerful one, particularly in times where it's hard for us to see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Tiffany, what is as we kind of wrap up, what's next for you in life? What is your vision for the future for you? Any big plans? I know you said you're going to be you're part of the opera crew here in Atlanta, so you'll be performing.
Yes, I'll be in all the productions this year, and we're doing Messiah here at Northside in April. And my husband and I are about to celebrate 10 years together.
Oh, so congratulations.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Another
awesome.
miracle. I like I said, I'm very entrenched in young childrenhood. So we are living day to day. But I'm happy to be here, and I'm just
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for your service and your gift here at Northside Church.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We see you guys next week.